We now want to take a look at the picture in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that's where we find Katie Simpson today. Now, the Senate race in Pennsylvania was among the most high-profile and contentious. I watched you outline that on CBC's extensive coverage of the midterms last night, and there's really a number of reasons why it was so high-profile. But take us through what actually went down. What happened?
Well, I think the biggest shock of the night is that there was actually a result on election night. That was not supposed to happen in Pennsylvania. Election workers here and officials who are running the state elections had warned people, look, it's going to take some time for us to count these ballots. And what they were trying to do was stave off concerns around conspiracy theories, that if a result was delayed or wasn't taking any time, we've seen nefarious actors try to seize on that and make up conspiracy theories about suitcases full of ballot boxes and ballot mules and all of this kind of stuff. And so elections officials were trying to get out ahead of that, saying, look, this could take a couple of days. The race is going to be close, and we need to make sure that every ballot is counted. And on top of that, some new rules in the city of Philadelphia after a legal challenge that was expected to slow things down even further. So around 1 o'clock in the morning, NBC News was first to call it, sending out e-blasts declaring on their national news special John Fetterman had won. All of a sudden, in this somewhat emptied out arena, our concert arena here in Pittsburgh, you could hear the volunteers start to cheer, and they all gathered on the floor. And all of a sudden, the podium comes out, and there comes John Fetterman. And then network after network called it. It was shocking. The race was so close. It wasn't expected to be called. And so he came out and spoke to his supporters, the ones that made it until about 1:30 in the morning, and declared himself the winner or acknowledged himself as the winner, and then thanked his team, and then said he's ready to get to work for the people of Pennsylvania. Dr. Oz, we know that his campaign, it was not a similar kind of scene there. There was not that same kind of energy and excitement. There had been some hope that he might be able to hold on to that seat. It was a Republican that had retired, but the Republicans weren't able to hold on, and it was a great disappointment for the Republican Party that they weren't able to hold on to this seat.
And speaking of great disappointment for the Republican Party, certainly a lot of the analysis ahead of time was talking about a red wave, and then now the analysis is talking about a red ripple. What's the takeaway from Pennsylvania?
Well, there is still the opportunity that the Republicans are going to take control of the House. Is it going to be sort of the massive win that they thought it was going to be, sending a message to voters saying we are going to take this as a mandate and, take and move forward and bring forward policies and that sort of thing with gusto and with strength? No, it's not that kind of overwhelming win. But here in Pennsylvania in particular, the two most high-profile races, the race for governor and then the race for Senate, you had two candidates, one who questioned the outcome of the 2020 election. That was Dr. Mehmet Oz, the TV celebrity who was introduced to the world by Oprah Winfrey. He had an endorsement from Donald Trump. And even though he said, listen, if I were a senator back in 2020, I wouldn't have stopped Joe Biden, the certification of the election. But he did go on to say there are more questions about 2020. More information needs to be found. Remember, it is not true that there was widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. Now, the candidate for governor, he was one of the loudest voices when it comes to the big lie, as they call it down here, the lie that the 2020 election was rigged. His name is Senator Doug Mastriano, and he had campaigned very hard with Donald Trump. And the fact that both of these candidates were unable to unable to win their races, it could send a message that even though the economy right now in the United States is not very good, the cost of living is out of control, and middle America is having a really hard time. Parents are making choices between putting gas in the car and feeding their families. And even though that is the situation, if you have candidates that campaign on something that people know is not true, it's not true that the 2020 election was stolen, that perhaps that's not a winning strategy, and that's going to be the reckoning for the Republican Party today as they have conversations. How did they not do so well in a midterm election when historically it's on the opposition side? And also, with all of the factors in their favor, the economy is terrible right now. Joe Biden is extremely unpopular, and you have all of these sort of factors that would favor them. However, even if it's a small majority and they still control the House, that's still control. So that's still a win for them.
Thanks for this, Katie.